The dog used to look at a drain every day. People were shocked when they opened it. Dave was out walking his dog when he found a German Shepherd staring at a drain. He didn't think much of it, just found it odd the dog was alone. The next day, the same thing happened. Dave grew more suspicious, so he started hearing noises from the drain. He immediately called emergency services to open it. A fire truck quickly arrived. They had the necessary tools to open the drain. The noises grew louder. What was stuck in the drain had Dave intrigued, but the arriving officers were told they had closed off the area around the drain. Something unexpected happened that Dave wasn't prepared for. Dave was informed he needed to go for questioning. They had restrained the German Shepherd and wanted to know if Dave knew what was happening. Dave was stunned. He was treated as if he were a suspect. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a white tent being set up around the drain. He was thrown into a police van. Realizing it wasn't the place of interest, he had to comply with the officers. He was told they would go to the station to question him about what they had found. They acted as if Dave had committed a crime. At the exact same time, Dave was escorted inside the station and saw they were also bringing in the German Shepherd. Dave could only comply. He had no idea what it was about but was determined to clear his name. The officers put Dave in the interrogation room. Immediately, they began asking questions. They had the impression the German Shepherd belonged to him. However, Dave told them he only had what was contained in another room, along with the German Shepherd. The police had checked the street cameras. They saw Dave every day walking around the German Shepherd and interacting with it in the drain. Now they had no leads but didn't want to share what they found inside the drain. When Dave asked about it, they went pale. They asked him to guide them through the day, and they needed to get some leads. Since Dave had called emergency services, they only had one lead they'd ask for: blindness. They needed to gather as much information as they could. Since he started guiding them on this day, Dave told them the noise was unmistakably something he had never heard. It was a soft but persistent thud and occasional cries. His own dog was stopped right in the middle of the road. It must also know something. Troubles were lurking. To Dave's surprise, the officers listened attentively. It was as if they had no idea of what they had exactly found. They had to understand the situation, and only Dave was someone they could talk to. Dave continued and began looking around to see if he saw the owner of the shepherd. The shepherd had been staring into the drain for days. No one seemed to care, but Dave had the feeling something was going on. The strange thing about the shepherd was that it didn't even move. It was as if it was completely disconnected. Dave couldn't catch its attention, but the dog didn't seem to want help, nor did it want attention from any onlookers. What could trigger this? Dave began seeking help. He wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. He tried dragging his dog away from the drain, but it refused to move. Dave really started to struggle. What could he do? Should he call the police? Dave felt confused, standing there in the middle of the street with his dog and the German Shepherd looking around as if delirious. Many eyes of passers-by fell on him, and he was starting to get a little uncomfortable. Finally, thankfully, Dave made the decision to listen to his own dog, focusing on the sewer below. He could hear the noises again, and this time with more detail. However, even with squinted eyes, all Dave could see was darkness below. At least in Dave's mind, someone or something was clearly in danger. How could he be the only one to realize this in such a crowded place? He felt compelled to do something about this danger. Initially, Dave said he tried pushing the sewer pipe lid but couldn't. Now, wielding a metal rod, like a lever he found nearby, he tried again with all his might. The lid was clearly rusted, and nothing could be budged. Dave looked around. A handful of people watched him from a distance, and now they approached with clear frustration in their voices. He tried explaining to some bystanders what the situation was, but at this point, more and more people also started hearing concerning sounds coming from the sewer. A brief moment of relief came over Dave when a few others seemed as determined to help as he was in this task. A local shop owner appeared from behind, holding what seemed to be a crowbar. In a matter of minutes, a team of 4 dedicated men formed, each of them holding a metal lever from an object found in the area. Dave and the others gave it their all, but the lid didn't budge an inch. They weren't skilled enough to do it. One of the spectators spotted a phone number of the manufacturer on the pipe lid. Dave immediately pulled out his phone from the backpack, and a minute later, someone picked up the line. Much calmer than before, Dave explained the situation carefully, ending with the question if there was anything they could do. Hope returned to him. It took a few minutes for the other end of the line to give a decisive answer. The company indeed was the one who manufactured the lid. However, he didn't get the answer he wanted. The city should be called for permission. The setback caught him off guard. He wasn't calling the government. Dave knew the kind of bureaucratic procedure he'd have to go through and the time it would cost him. By the time he received the paperwork, whatever's down there would be dead. At this point, one of the people who had helped him before announced they needed to continue their work. Still, Dave didn't think about giving up. The situation was urgent. Dave knew the only way to fulfill his mission was to sort this out on his own. He called the owner of a towing company he happened to know, and again recounted what had happened. Dave wagered they would have the right equipment to remove this diabolic cover. The towing company owner had another idea. He insisted on involving the authorities, as he lived with the plan. If he wanted to call emergency services, he would need a solid reason. And if there was nothing down there, he risked a huge fine. Messing with government property wasn't something the towing company owner was particularly thrilled about. Dave remained persistent. He no longer cared about the risks. His first and foremost goal was to get into the sewer system. Now, Dave was tired. Of everything, the shepherd didn't move an inch, and he tried moving the shepherd to see what happened. The shepherd resisted and even started getting aggressive with Dave. This was the last straw. Dave decided he would call the fire department and make up something about animals being down there. They wanted to know how he knew. He said his German shepherd could smell them. That's why Dave was later arrested. Then he heard the fire department arriving. They didn't even recognize Dave. The men who had arrived clearly did this kind of work more frequently. A bit of correct positioning and spying were in order, but it didn't take long to break the rust and set the first move into action. The new circle of spectators formed as the mysterious ones dwindled over time. Now they could be fully heard again. From the moment the lid was lifted and, from afar, in several slightly different squeals, filled the street. Dave had never heard anything like this before in his life. Opening the sewer was just the beginning of this mission. Now that it had been accomplished, someone had to go down. Dave looked around. People's willingness to help suddenly seemed to decrease. The spectators were clearly interested in whatever was happening, but most kept their distance. Hesitant, Dave looked down the long, deep, and dark pipe. A firefighter approached Dave. He told Dave that his colleagues weren't willing to go down. They have no experience with this and didn't want to risk their men's safety. Since he was told they needed to wait for a specialist, Dave disagreed with this decision. Dave ran past the firefighters and jumped into the dark tunnel. He felt a rush of excitement. Stress, agitation, and adrenaline running through his body. He heard the firefighters shouting for him to come back. Dave would definitely regret this. Dave was now in the dark. He was lucky he had his phone with him. He decided to turn on the flashlight. He had to follow the sounds now. He thought he was close, but he was definitely heading in the wrong direction. Dave kept walking until he reached a dead end. He had no idea where he was going. His phone's battery was dying too. He needed to hurry or he'd be completely lost in the sewer system. He had made a huge mistake. Eventually, by some miracle, he managed to get close to the sound. That's when things started getting darker. The screams and sounds turned into something much more sinister. As Dave approached, he saw glowing eyes in the distance. He had to run for it. Dave ran as fast as he could. He had no idea where he was going. He heard the sound getting closer to him. Then he realized he was being chased by whatever was there in the sewer system. He had to find the way out. After blindly running in the dark, he saw some light. Turning the corner, he was relieved to have probably found an exit. But turning the corner, he saw a closed hatch. Some light was coming from it. He had to keep going. This could be a life-threatening situation. Dave nearly passed out from fright. That's when he bumped into something. He felt as if his life was over. The thing that had been chasing him finally caught up. Upon opening his eyes, he saw he had bumped into one of the firefighters looking for him. Since he was escorted out by them, they said he was too reckless. He should never have gone through the tunnel without a specialist. When Dave recounted what had happened, they went pale. No one could go down now. Dave was interrogated when the police arrived. He was the only one who had seen what was through the drain. Dave wasn't sure what he had found, but he was sure of one thing: that creature was dangerous. Dave saw that another team had arrived. These were the specialists the firefighters talked about. They arrived in strange black vans. Dave was now even more suspicious of what he had seen. He wanted to stay to see what was going on, but was then arrested. That's when he was taken away by the police. Interrogated, Dave saw they were setting up a white tent. Furthermore, he had no idea what had just happened. When they finished interrogating Dave, they decided he hadn't done anything wrong and released him. Dave instantly went back to the drain. He had heard the German Shepherd had broken through. When he arrived at the scene, he saw hundreds of people gathered around the drain. The police tried to keep everyone at a safe distance. Dave noticed something else. The German Shepherd sneaked through the crowd to the drain, then it jumped into the drain. Everyone gasped. They had never witnessed anything like it. What was the German Shepherd doing? The shepherd didn't hesitate. They all heard many sounds from the sewer. Something was happening down there. At some point, Dave heard screams, and everyone instantly fell silent. No sound came from the sewer anymore. Dave felt as if something bad had happened there. The police ran towards the drain. Then something happened. From the drain came the German Shepherd. The shepherd was accompanied by a team of specialists who seemed completely shocked. It was as if they had witnessed something that no one would ever see. Dave then heard some whispers in the crowd. A lot of speculation was going on about what had just happened. He even saw a member of the search team missing. The German Shepherd waited at the top of the drain again, and it didn't move an inch. What was it waiting for? Eventually, the last person from the group came out of the drain. They had something in their hands. Dave couldn't see what it was, but they had definitely found something down there. Then the crowd began to cheer. Dave realized they had found the puppies. The German Shepherd was licking them when they surfaced. These puppies were the shepherd's puppies. Dave now understood the whole situation. Somehow, she had lost her puppies. But where is the owner? They determined the shepherd had no owner. This meant she needed to be taken to an animal shelter with her pups. That's when Dave decided to intervene. He offered to adopt both the shepherd and the puppies. The police agreed under one condition, letting them visit whenever they wanted just to check on all of them. Dave needed to have them examined by the vet as well. When everything was okay, Dave took them all home. He cared a lot for them and let the police visit whenever they wanted. If you enjoyed the story, leave your like, subscribe to the channel. Until next time.